Welcome to Friday Fuel, part 4 of our 4-part series where we've been actually looking at tips, proactive and practical ones, to help you show up in times of change. What we're going to be focusing on today is how do you go about supporting others through times of uncertainty.
And the first tip we want to share with you today is around being present. Now, that might seem really obvious, but actually most of us have been in those conversations with someone where we're talking away and then there's that really fantastic glaze that comes over the other person's eyes. And you feel like when you're in that moment, and I call it my Mickey Mouse moment, to be honest, where I could inject into the conversation that Mickey Mouse is my absolute favourite cartoon character, and the person would be none the wiser about what's just taken place in the conversation. So that being present is really important so that it shows you're fully accountable for what's happening in that conversation. The second tip we want to share with you today is around really understanding what your role is in that conversation. You know, most of us have been in that scenario where we've had someone go, "Have you got 5 minutes?" And you think, this isn't going to be 5 minutes. And so somebody sits down and it's really just getting hold of whether you're the person that's going to be the advisor. So is there actually some information you need to share with them? Or do they just need to download some information to you? So you're there just as the listener. And so really understanding whether your role is just as that as the listener or in that role as advisor is really important to articulate. And that can change, of course, throughout your conversation with somebody.
Absolutely. And when we actually think about it and we're wanting to really make sure we put ourselves into the other person's shoes and really come from that place of empathy when we are wanting to support people. And the thing is, at the moment, because we are in times of uncertainty, people are likely to be reacting to situations differently. And guess what? We're human and we will be reacting to situations differently than we may have been 6 months ago as well. So the third proactive practical tip that we would like to share with you is around making sure that we are responding to a situation and not reacting. And one of the easiest ways of making sure we show empathy, we understand what the other person needs from us, is simple questioning. And I know we've heard it, and I know you're probably saying I know it, but there's a big difference about knowing it and actually practically applying it. So if in a society we were actually leading with questions rather than statements, people would be less defensive. So one of the things to note is that when we react, it's fueled by emotions. When we respond, it means we've engaged our brain. And one of my favourite thought leaders in this particular area is Stephen Covey. And of course, he wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we believe that that book and those habits are still really relevant today. He talks about a fifth habit, being seek first to understand and then to be understood. This is all around leading in and asking a question, gather that information, digest it, reflect on it without judging, without jumping in, and then using it then to respond from that place of strength.
So our challenge to you for this week in our final of our June series is to really see if you can understand when you're being present in a conversation, or when you're probably a little bit slow in that conversation, there's the potential for the old glazed eye effect to take place, or the Mickey Mouse moment, as I like to call it. The second thing we'd like you to really get hold of is what your role is in that conversation. Are you there just for someone to share a bunch of information with so that they can get it off their chest? So is your role just to listen? Or are you there in that advisory role? And if you are in that advisory role, like Kirsten's just shared, thinking about whether you're reacting or responding to questions that are going on or to the situation that's going on. And don't forget Stephen Covey's tip that Kirsten just shared. So remembering to seek first to understand, then be understood. Well, that's all we've got for our June series. If you've got any topics you would like Kirsten and I to explore for you, pop them in the comments below. And also feel free to send a direct message. We've had a few of those coming through. Otherwise, we look forward to our July series starting soon.
See you next week.